Hello everyone and welcome back to Factorio. So yeah, it's been a while since I got to recording. Things have been a bit hectic, but have calmed down a little now. I'm currently driving a full load of supplies back to my new base, which has seen some updates, which I'll again just go over quickly. So everything I've built so far is at least functional. I'm currently running tests on everything. Second. There we go. So yeah, part of the hecticness was me reinstalling Windows. So I've had to reinitialize all my settings for my recording software and all that. It's all new now. I'm hoping it'll actually record everything. It's always possible that you'll have an episode without audio in some sense, so either no game audio or my voice doesn't record. If my voice doesn't record, I'll do post commentary, so that's okay. But if the game audio doesn't record, there's nothing I can do about that. It's going to be an episode without game audio. But yeah, I've started sort of supplying the furnace setups with minimal amounts of resources. So that way I get at least an idea of whether the whole system works. Now this is not a full throughput test yet. Okay, no trains in sight currently. So I have 3 iron ore patches and 3 copper ore patches that are currently being mined up. And that's obviously not enough to fully supply these stations with the throughput they can technically handle. So right now I have 1.4 million iron plates stored up, again because I'm not consuming that many of them. I'll leave the train here because the car here because I'll just crash into stuff. So I've got 3 trains supplying this. And then we've got 1 train delivering iron to my steel production, which is mostly finished, I think. My requester chests are pretty much all full, and there's just a few of these providers here of the output chests that don't have 4.8k yet, which means they're full. As you can see, here we have 3.1k. So they're not all equally full because of how the robots distribute items. Under full load, this wouldn't be an issue, but because under full load, basically all the furnaces, or most of them, would have to be working all the time anyway, so there wouldn't be an issue. Under this minuscule amount of load, the robots can always take from the chest that is closest to them, which they usually do. So yeah, that's why they're not completely even. And I've also, I'm not sure how much I've shown you last episode, but pretty sure the only thing I've added is some mining outposts, which we'll get to in a bit. And my first actual outpost. So the first thing that I built is an electronic circuit setup. They're just used as ingredient for, well, a lot of things, so. So that's why. I'm not completely happy with it yet, plus I'm definitely not supplying it with enough robots, but again, this is just the initial sort of setting it up phase, basically. I will probably set up an actual station in my main base here. That will be kind of a temporary thing. Maybe I'll put it right here. But yeah, it doesn't have a fixed location yet. Maybe it'll go here. And that station will basically build materials for the base. That way I won't have to drive back to here for everything, which is just a long way. And I can also use the rather high throughput that this station or this system can technically afford me to to supply me with the items I need, rather than having to use this very old and fairly low throughput, fairly weak main bus design, which was never intended for the long run. And so obviously, if I do stuff like the roboports, it eats so many of the red circuits that my tiny little red circuit production, which is right here, it's just tiny. It can't keep up. So I might use the eventual red circuit production in the main actual mega base, which would have, I don't know, 10 times at least, probably much more, the throughput, and actually use that to supply my roboports, for example. But since none of those are items I need for the eventual research, those will all basically be temporary. The only thing I will need in the long run are the materials required to make more research packs, obviously. And yeah, I will probably need rails and the signals and rail stations, trains, and yeah, all the stuff I need for mining outposts, basically. Anyway, this station here, I'm not completely happy with it. The assemblers are all nicely beaconed, that's fine. I'm going for a 1-to-1 ratio of copper cable production to circuit production, but as you can see, that's not perfect. Even though I'm definitely supplying enough copper, and I have also definitely got enough iron supplied, this thing here is not constantly working because the copper cable is an issue. And that's because the ratio is not technically 1-to-1. It's actually 15-to-14, so I need 15 copper cable machines for 14 electronic circuit machines. Now, I have not been able to come up with a decent design that actually incorporates this. Because the problem is 15 and 14, you would think, okay, so you put, you start with a copper cable machine, then you put a circuit machine, then copper cable, circuit, copper cable, and that way you will basically have, could just put it down for show. Like this. And if I did this longer and longer, then eventually I'd have 15 cables and 14 circuits. But the problem is that the ones on the outside only supply one of the assembling machines. And technically, if I did this whole setup and, put, inserters like this and that kind of thing, I would have the right ratio. But I don't think it would actually even out in the long run. I mean, I'd also need to supply iron to these the actual circuit machines, but that's okay. That's easily possible. Now, one issue is that you definitely need 2 inserters here, because one stack inserter can't actually handle the throughput. Yeah, and actually maybe that was not the best one to show, because that one is actually not full on copper. Okay, let's put 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 new robots into the system. It's still not enough, but it'll help a little. Yeah, right now the robot supply is also an issue. Yeah, the problem is that basically this wire machine down here is only supplying one electronic circuit machine, when in fact it would need to be supplying slightly more, so the excess product would need to be distributed among the other green circuit machines. And I'm not sure if it would balance out normally. In my tests, it didn't look like it would. Basically, you had this one here standing idle some of the time, and you had some of the machines in the center not being able to supply enough for the green circuit machines. It was a fairly limited test, so I'm not sure if that was really enough. But yeah, I don't think it'll work like that, and any other options I came up would require an insane amount of robots. The advantage I have here is that the wires get inserted directly into the green circuit machines, so I don't need that to be handled by robots. All the other designs that used the perfect ratio and actually worked had robots handling the copper wire transfer. And you transfer a lot of copper wire in this setup. So yeah, I don't know. If someone has a really good setup that's spot-based, let me know, because belt-based just isn't cutting it anymore for this stage, for this scale of base. Especially considering my UPS problems that I will eventually face. Right now it says 43, but that's because there's a lot of stuff going on and I'm recording as well. I'm still basically at a solid 60 when I'm not recording and not in a busy area like this. So that's okay. But yeah, this is just making me the green circuits, which are then being inserted into these chests down here. I'm not using them yet, it's just the first actual production outposts I've made. It's also probably the biggest one in terms of throughput. Plastic might be similarly big, but we'll have to see. Anyway, let's head over to the mining outpost so you can see some of those. I will actually aim to keep this update short. So we'll probably be under 20 minutes. This is more of a I'm still alive and new videos are coming kind of statement. And I wanted to show you what I've done so far. So yeah, here we can see that the copper smeltery actually it's almost full. It currently only uses 800 out of 3,000 logistic robots that it has available. And my ore trains are not actually being fully unloaded instantly. Or as soon as they can be, basically, because my supply chests are full. Which basically means it's not a design flaw, it's just the station is basically backed up. I'm supplying more copper than I'm consuming, so yeah, the ore trains aren't needed all the time. Ow. Okay, so I'm building my ore trains off of this section right here. And just get off the tracks. I'm basically using this T-junction and then condensing it very quickly to 2 tracks and then 1 track even to get my trains off the main line. Because this station here will only ever be visited by exactly 1 train. So it's really not an issue that this section here doesn't have much throughput or train stack or anything. There's only 1 train going in and only 1 train going out. And so there doesn't need to be a throughput. There's no throughput bottleneck here. It's just it only takes 1 train, so it doesn't need to be sort of a high throughput station. Okay, hey, you're already full. Sadly, oh, I do, since I spent the robots. Obviously, some of the outermost miners will be finished very, very quickly, just because of how I set it up. But yeah, I'm using productivity in the mining drills. This does slow down the station, so I will need more trains, but I don't need to replace them as often, which is more convenient for me. I think I've explained that before, but yeah, these things have productivity and no speed bonus. It's not technically recommended to do this, it's just I prefer it. I don't like being wasteful. But yeah, it obviously means that they're running at minus 45% speed, so it looks like you also get them moving this slowly if you're out of energy. That's not my issue. I'm just using productivity here. And that means that it does take a while to actually fill the trains up. I think a full train can take 12k ore. So that's 11k, it's not that far off from being completely full. Yeah, this amount of robots is actually more than I need in the long run. As you can see, it's using about 100 right now, and it has 350. So I could technically take out, I don't know, 100, and we'd still be perfectly fine. I could probably take out another 100 actually. And there goes the train, and now the robots will be resupplying these chests, and by the time it comes back, it'll have a few thousand already available. And then I've got the same thing here again and here again for another 2 iron outposts. That's just how the ore patches happened to line up. And because I've done it this way, I can basically have the trains wait until they're full and then wait at the other station until they're empty. So I don't need to fiddle around with how long they need at each station. I can just use the until full and until empty commands, which are, I don't know, very convenient. And over here I've got the first few copper setups. They look exactly identical. This is a pretty big patch, so yeah, since I'm not consuming the copper fast enough even, as you can see, okay, this one's, for example, this one's done. It's because I'm plopping down the blueprint for this, for a 2x3 section of these miners. So sometimes a miner will be put on just a very tiny bit of ore. And you are apparently out of power. Or you don't have power, rather. And yeah, these are actually completely full. So when the train comes, it'll pretty much instantly be filled completely. And because this is such a big patch, I also put more robots in. This has 500. Putting down the roboports is always a bit of a hassle, but you know, throughput isn't really an issue here, so I don't need to have ideal robot port placement. I just need to supply the basics, essentially. So yeah, I've got these copper mines here, and another one here, and then these 3 iron patches, which means I'm currently supplying copper, iron, and by iron I also produce steel, and the electronic circuits. And as it turns out, there will be 7 stations in total that need electronic circuits. So I didn't put a stacker here. Might have been a mistake, but I can still use the long straight section here to stack 2 or 3 trains, so that's okay. Yeah, 2 probably. In case I need multiple trains for any station. I don't think so though, so this should be fine, according to my calculations at least. So yeah, I can have 7 trains loaded and being loaded here at the same time for the 7 places that need the green circuits. And similarly, according to my calculations, I've got 3 stations that accept copper and 3 that accept iron. That should also be sufficient for this amount of green circuit production, which I believe is enough in the long run. I think it's 50, it's 14 per row, 28, 56 green circuit stations, where I think I needed 52, so I'm slightly over the amount I needed. Enough to compensate for the fact that I'm not using the ideal ratio, at any rate. So yeah, we're basically fine here. And that means the 7th input slot is just for fuel, so... I'm not sure if I told you this actually. I have set it up so that the fuel train will only go here if it's actually needed, so... You can see the station's marked red on the map. That's because the fuel station basically has enough. And only when it drops below 2000 rocket fuel will the station become active again and will be refueled. And I will do that all over the place so that these trains, the refueling trains, don't drive meaningless circles. They only go where they are needed. Okay, but yeah, that's basically all I have. I'll be setting up more mining stations now. And I hope you enjoyed the episode. Mostly it's just I am still alive. But yeah. Stay tuned. There will be more interesting stuff coming. And as you can see, almost 60 FPS and UPS again. So we're still okay. Anyway, have a good day. Bye bye.